Welcome back to Tao of Twang. I'm Dave. So this is our follow-up to that double stops, R&B double stops video just a few days ago, last weekend. And if you haven't checked that out, if you have the time, it would really set you up for what we're going to look at today. It's kind of that video is a little longer. It's one of our main lessons. And it really kind of roams around in sort of a system of these double stops and in this key of D. And in this video, I'm going to demonstrate the licks that I just played in that intro, okay, and really break them down for you. And it's all tied together with that video from the weekend. So we're going to zoom in here and get going, all right? Okay, so we've got you moved in here. Let's just look at this progression real quick. It's just D and G. And today I'm just using the guitar, rhythm guitar, just the chords from the guitar track on that practice loop for this session. And then, but I'll put the full loop with the drums and bass and stuff at the end of this. It's a little funner to practice with sometimes. So it's D, it's kind of a laid back. Okay, probably in the mid 70s, that beats per minute. I don't remember exactly what the metronome's on, but pretty laid back. So, and we're using a lot of, we're in D, we're approaching it that way. There's other things you could do, but everything in that previous lesson and what we're going to do today is really D is the key. So I'm going to jump right into this. There was 3 things that I just demonstrated there. The first one was this. I think I was holding that last part of it. So you'll notice that it lands, when I get down to here, it's landing right on the G. That sounds cool. When you're playing with a loop like this, if you don't land right on the G, it doesn't mean you have to stop what you're doing and back it up and count it out. And you could do that, but that's kind of what the loop's all about, is you just get in there and roll around in it, until you find pressure points and things and landing places that feel good, right? And here's what I mean about just kind of the phrasing of it. That's the G. So I started more in the middle of the D. Let's break that down. And you could, like I said, I would encourage you to, even if you don't land just like that, just kind of keep going. And there's a lot of other cool stuff that could happen, if you're open to it. So here's the lick. Remember, if you watched that previous video, a lot of this stuff is based on pieces of triads, right? So D. Okay, and then isolating just 2 strings at a time. Okay, so there's that D shape, same as down here. And then I'm just, switching my fingers around to just play these 2. Okay, so that's kind of the idea from that previous lesson, right? It was like hunting that stuff down, because every chord position and bar chord and stuff that we know has like a bunch of those just sitting there, right? So that's the first thing. It's kind of a staccato. Kind of just let go of it. Whatever you want to do. Then down to these 2 strings isolated from that shape of D. Okay? So we're just D, D, and D here, right? Really cool thing about this style is we're just dealing with one chord mostly in this lick that I'm showing you right now, but it's like, it sounds like so much, you know. And I'm just taking that little piece of that D and moving it up 2 and back 2. So practice those two sections repeatedly. Sorry. Okay. Now, these two strings, right? The second and third strings, isolated from that same D bar chord. Except, if you watch that first lesson over the weekend, use these two fingers so we can hammer up to that one, okay? And this is where you might have to park it for a second and just, you know, work out on this a little bit. Okay? Then I'm kind of coming off of it right there, so. Okay, so take those 3 pieces and build on that. Practice that repeatedly. Feels like you're, and sounds like you're playing rhythm and lead at the same time. I almost don't need the loop as much, you know? Okay, now, again, D. Okay, except it's that triad, and then again your second and third strings isolated. This seems like a lot when you just see that lick at full speed, but see how we're breaking this down? It's all D, pieces of D triads. You know, that's a great little lick right there, because you can do so many different things. That's just going to the G. I'll show you in a second. Okay, now I'm not waiting for that place in the pattern every time, right? Okay, so that'll come later for you. Right now, here's your routine on this. Here it is a little bit slower. It's a lot of position movement, right? That's the part you have to practice, right? It doesn't just take place in one place on the neck. Okay? Now, here at the end, I'm just going, if I only hit these two, okay, so that's that G triad that looks like that, right? So you can put that whole thing together, or you can just do that third and fourth string, and you're hammering from the 7th to the 9th on the 4th string. The important thing is that you can see that it's part of that G shape chord, right? Okay, so we got isn't that cool? Now, that one took a little bit. I did that one first because that's the one that, you know, takes a minute to really demonstrate it for you. Let me just play it with it a little bit here, just for a second. That's the D. being all the way up to speed at first. Sometimes I'm using my pinky, sometimes that one. You do whatever works for you. Okay, so the second thing here was I did kind of just a D major pentatonic lick. It was like, first time I did it in that demo, it was single notes. Now that's counted like, don't get too hung up on this, but it's 1, 2 E and a, 1, 2 E and a 3. Okay. And just kind of an old rock, you know, feel there of that major pentatonic. Then they're just straight up there. Then the second little phrasing piece is, so let me slow that down. Well, I didn't slow it down that much, did I? Here. Use your ear too. Don't just, you know, get caught up in backing that video up and just looking at it. You listen to it and sound it out. You'll know when you get it. It'll sound just right. Now, I followed that up with the same move, but hitting a couple strings at a time. And this is kind of where it gets cool. Now, if you practiced what we just did, you're gonna be just all over that. And you can't play a bad note if you've got that D barred like that. It doesn't matter if you hit the right string, the wrong one. It's just gonna, it's almost cooler if you don't hit it perfect, right? So don't stress over, I gotta hit those two, I gotta hit, no. You're just beefing it up. Okay, then same thing here. So you're doing the same thing on that second half, except this finger's on this second string and moving with you. Okay, I know this stuff's new for a lot of you, but I think you're really going to enjoy it. And the style that a lot of us seem to have in common, like the era of popular music that a lot of us share interest in on this channel, this stuff really, you know, fits into that drift away and just all that really groovy guitar stuff, right? Okay. So, let me show you this third one, and then I'll kind of, you know, consolidate like we always do and give you kind of a practice routine. Now, we're already there, really, because kind of the same. I don't have to talk about this one as much because it's all the same concepts that I just mentioned about this, taking like kind of a single, single note melody and harmonizing it. That's what this double stuff's really about. But it's just that D. Okay, this is on the second and third string. So sound that out. Don't just look at it. Okay. And if you do analyze this for just a second, it's D, That's D. That's our, remember that from our, it's just another way back around to get to that. So you want to work out on this just going up and down like that. And just so you know, you can play a lot of stuff just with that. You can really improvise. There I went to the G, right? So, you know, we'll get to a little bit of the style elements here at the end. But you saw that sometimes I was separating some of the notes and stuff like that. Another thing you can do is, if you want to really hit that G, when it lands on that G, just take it on up, no matter which finger you use, to a G. Isolate those, you know? And since both of these are major chords, here's a little theory you could test out. I wonder if that would work when I up here, when I get to the G, or even over the D. You'll never know unless you try it. Okay, now you gotta step a little lightly when you're playing over all the chords like that, right? Not like, that wasn't a good metaphor. Step all over it, right? But then pick out, you know, learn which things sound good, right? But explore it for sure. Don't be shy about it. I misspoke there. So here's our 3 things we got going on here. Okay. Then the harmonized version of that. And then we're just already right in that third idea. Okay. All 3 of those, you can take any of the component parts and just make all the riffs you want, right? I know that's, you know, easy for one to say when they've been experimenting with this very thing that I'm showing you for 20 years or what, you know, longer than that. You know, but there's always something new in there. That's why I mentioned it, not to say, oh, you know, I got this down. No, you never got it down, because you never run out of new stuff to do when you have a system that works, right? And you never really get burned out on it, you know. You're not repeating the same things over and over. But at first, yeah, repetition, that's how you practice it. Okay, let me just play around here a little bit. I won't go on and on, but I do think this is fun. Kind of a different phrasing, right? D. So you start adding, after you get going on this, the fun part is you got your single note stuff, major pentatonic, works really good. You can do some other stuff, D major scale, But you got a little bit of that. You do a little bendy blues lick. You start mixing that together with your double stop stuff, man, that's really starting to stylize it, okay? These licks are tough at first. These are not things where you can just say, play these 4 notes in this order. It's not like that. So be patient with yourself, and hope to hear from some of you very soon about how this is working out for you, and more ideas of stuff that we can do on this channel. Okay? Appreciate you. Talk to you next time.